7 delegations, 51 members of parliament, 8 retired ambassadors, 33 countries, one frantic mission. India's global PR blitz, launched in the aftermath of its aggressive military action against Pakistan in May 2025, was nothing short of a diplomatic spectacle. But behind the handshakes and hashtags, what did it really achieve? Did it move the needle internationally, or was it just another case of spinning a weak narrative into the wind of a global indifference? Welcome to Unraveled. Coming to you from New Wave Global, I'm your host, Marvi Sirmed. Tonight, we unpack India's high-profile diplomatic outreach following the Pahalgam terrorist attack and what they call Operation Sindoor, a campaign that aimed to shape global opinion. Not just shaping the global opinion, but justifying a military aggression and revive India's claim to moral superiority. But did the world buy it? Let's unravel the facts. In a rare show of bipartisan optics, India sent 7 all-party delegations abroad in a post-crisis blitz, led by figures like Shashi Tharoor from the Indian National Congress INC, Ravi Shankar Prasad from the Bharatiya Janata Party, ruling party BJP, Kanimoji Karunanidhi from the Devendra Manetra Kajagam DMK, Asaduddin Owaisi from the All India Majlis-e-Ittihadul Muslimin AIMIM, John Betras from the Communist Party of India Marxist CPIM, Shrikant Eknath Shinde from Shiv Sena, Mia Altaf Ahmed of Indian-administered Kashmir's National Conference, Ghulam Nabi Azad, former Chief Minister of Indian-administered Kashmir and head of his own party, newly formed party, Democratic Progressive Azad Party, DPAP, again from Kashmir, and Supriya Sule from the Nationalist Congress Party NCP Sharad Pawar Group. So this sprawling campaign, it involved a total of 51 sitting MPs, 8 former ambassadors, and visits to 33 countries and the European Union headquarters in Brussels. Their stated mission, well, not in these words, but gathering from the speeches of delegation leaders in various countries and the coverage in the Indian media, the major objectives appear to be as follows. To build global support for India's claim that Pakistan masterminded the Pahalgam attack, to justify India's military strike as a measured counter-terrorism response, to deflect global sympathy away from Pakistan, and perhaps most ambitiously, to reassert that Kashmir remains India's internal matter. Let's look at what actually came out of this grand diplomatic performance. In Washington, D.C., Mr. Shashi Tharoor's delegation delivered speeches, met think tanks, and addressed the diaspora. The only so-called win came from, when Indian media started reporting in unison that Colombia had withdrawn its earlier statement expressing condolences for Pakistani casualties. But here's the catch. No Colombian government source has corroborated this claim. No official statement, at least till the time this show is being recorded. No press release, nothing on record. The story lives only in Indian media. Even that supposed diplomatic victory, well, highly questionable. In fact, it didn't even make the evening news in Bogota. Now, come to Middle East. In Qatar, Middle East Africa, in Qatar, Bahrain, Spain, Kenya, Indian MPs met with mid-level officials, discussed shared values, reiterated India's standard counter-terrorism rhetoric. But there were no high-level policy statements, there were no joint communiques, and certainly no shift in global opinion that we could see in these capitals. or anywhere for that matter. Crucially, not a single major global power echoed India's claim that Pakistan was behind the Pahalgam attack. Why? Because India failed to produce a shred of credible evidence. If such evidence existed, it clearly wasn't strong enough to convince anyone in the world. Now, here's the real sting in the story. Despite India's insistence that Kashmir is a purely internal matter, the world has responded to this conflict by recentering Kashmir in the global imagination. From the Washington Post to The Guardian, from Le Monde to Al Jazeera, international coverage of the conflict, not of this diplomatic blitz. This one, the later one, actually no one covered outside India. Almost no one covered. The international coverage of the conflict actually did not fixate on terrorism. It focused on the unresolved status of a disputed territory that remains Kashmir. India's talking points were drowned out by stories of Kashmir's lockdowns, media blockouts, arbitrary detentions, and demographic engineering. India wanted the world to see Pahalgam as another Mumbai 2008. But what the world saw was another Pulwama Balakot redux, a dangerous escalation rooted in essentially domestic politics, not a genuine counter-terrorism response. Now, let's revisit the juxtaposition of India's stated objectives and the outcomes of its diplomatic outreach. So the goal was build global support. Outcome? No major power endorsed India's claims against Pakistan. The goal was justify military action. Outcome? No international endorsement of airstrikes could come. If the goal was to isolate Pakistan, the outcome? Well, Pakistan maintained its diplomatic engagements. Pakistani Prime Minister was seen rubbing shoulders with other heads of the states. If the goal was to showcase political unity, well, internal political divisions became increasingly evident in India. While the Indian government aimed to present a unified front internationally by sending these so-called bipartisan delegations, domestically, the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack and the conflict saw a disturbing surge in especially after Pahalgam attack. The communal tensions surged in India. Reports indicate a significant increase in hate crimes targeting Muslims, especially Kashmiris, across various states in India. For instance, in Uttar Pradesh, Shamli district, a Muslim man was assaulted with the assailants reportedly stating, "You have killed our 26, we will kill your 26." Similarly, making a reference to the 26 innocent lives perished during the Pahalgam attack. Similarly, Kashmir students in Punjab, India's Punjab, faced attacks in their hostels, leading to widespread fear and insecurity among the community. The media landscape mirrored this hostility. Certain outlets and social media platforms amplified anti-Muslim and anti-Kashmiri sentiments, often blurring the lines between journalism and propaganda. Outright hate-mongering, outright incitement to violence. This environment was further inflamed by incendiary speeches from some political figures, which, rather than promoting unity, deepened societal divides. Concurrently, Indian government's approach to dissent raised concerns. Individuals questioning the security lapses leading to the Pahalgam attack or the subsequent military actions faced arrests and legal actions. Notably, a daily wage worker in Uttar Pradesh was detained under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA, the notorious UAPA, for allegedly attributing blame to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the attack. Such measures have been criticized for stifling free speech and suppressing legitimate inquiries into national security matters. And to be fair, these voices, very strong voices of resistance, have been coming from inside India. And that really commendable. The political discourse also took a contentious turn. Congress leader Mr. Rahul Gandhi, after posing questions about the number of Indian aircrafts lost during the conflict, was labeled a Pakistani agent by certain BJP members. This branding of political opposition as unpatriotic not only undermines democratic principles but also detracts from constructive dialogue on national security. And we can see it in Pakistan as well, but not during this conflict. Moreover, the purported unity of the all party delegation was called into question also. Instances emerged of delegation members, particularly from the BJP, making partisan statements during their international engagements. And partisan statements were made using X, the social networking platform. Such actions suggest that the delegations, rather than being bipartisan efforts to address terrorism, were leveraged for domestic political gains. In essence, while the Indian government sought to project solidarity and its resolve on the international stage, the internal dynamics painted a contrasting picture. The rise in communal tensions, suppression of dissent, and politicization of national security challenges underscore the complexities and contradictions in India's response to the Pahalgam attack and its aftermath. India's foreign ministry tried to paint a picture of global solidarity. But behind the scenes, many foreign offices were wary, if not outright unconvinced, of India's claims. The US called for de escalation, the EU urged restraint, no one backed India's hardline stance. The theatrics of bipartisanship couldn't hide the fact that this outreach was top down spin masquerading as diplomacy. So, why didn't it work? Because India has a credibility crisis. It talks about democracy while stifling dissent. It talks about terrorism while backsliding on human rights in Kashmir and allegedly sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan, especially in Balochistan. It demands global empathy while denying international mediation. It claims surgical precision in military strikes while killing civilians in Pakistan's Punjab province and in Pakistan administered Muzaffarabad, Kashmir. And most damningly, India keeps using counterterrorism narratives as a cover for domestic political maneuvering. The world has begun to see through the smoke. From a geopolitical standpoint, India stood at a crossroads after the Pahalgam attack. It could have chosen a path that reinforced its image as a responsible global actor. But it didn't. Imagine the political impact if India had instead, for example, called for an independent international mechanism to investigate the Pahalgam attack, rather than launching premature military strikes without verifiable evidence. Imagine if India had expressed openness to third party facilitation for regional peace and de escalation, aligning with how the international community increasingly views Kashmir as a security flashpoint, not an internal matter. But rather than embracing diplomacy, India clung to old dogmas, accusations without proofs, retaliation without restraint, and a refusal to engage beyond its own narrative. The result? A fractured message, diminished credibility, and growing global discomfort with India's intransigence. The world, it seems, has moved on, viewing Pakistan not as a perennial offender, but increasingly as a partner in the global fight against terrorism. If India wants to remain aligned with this evolving consensus, it might choose cooperation over coercion, responsibility over rhetoric. India's diplomatic delegations were meant to dazzle, but in reality, they revealed the growing gap between what India says and what the world hears. No realignment of global opinion, no transformation of policy, no evidence accepted, no narrative changed. In the end, it wasn't the world that failed to listen. It was India that failed to speak credibly. Until next time, stay informed, stay critical, and keep asking the uncomfortable questions. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Unraveled with Marvi Sirmed right here on New Wave Global. This is Marvi Sirmed signing off. Have a good one.